like my slides are there, which is very exciting. I get excited by HTML working, which is maybe good or maybe bad, considering. Let's see if the click, and look at that, haha! It's all of the technology works. This is so this is the proof that OpenStack is successful. We can get slides on the screen. So I'm Monty Taylor. Before I get into the thing, I want to say a couple of brief words. These slides are online, so if you love them so much that you really want to go home and show them to your wife and kids, you can go to inaugust.com and click on some things and find those and other things there. There's a Twitter handle. The slides are actually also in Git, and if you go there, you can clone them and whatnot. They're not on GitHub because it turns out Git is a distributed version control system, and you don't have to put everything in GitHub. But you can get them and edit them. They're Creative Commons licensed. I have absolutely no idea why you would want to clone and edit my slides, but if you'd like to, you're more than welcome to. I don't really want to tell you what you should do with your life. So who am I? Why am I talking to you? First of all, if you follow all of the news of my life, you might realize that recently I've changed jobs. If you don't follow the news of my life, that's good for you. There's more important things to do than me. So I'm a distinguished engineer at IBM, in IBM Cloud Division, working on a whole bunch of things as they relate to OpenStack. But as Ruud said, I'm not here in an IBM capacity, so all of the things that I say that are going to be offensive, IBM can disclaim them. I'm not speaking for them at the moment. I've been around OpenStack since the meetings where we were talking about calling it OpenStack or something else, which is, I'm sure, a terrible idea. I sit on the technical committee, which is the body that's like the board of directors but makes all the technical decisions. So you can blame me for pretty much anything that you don't like technically. At some level, also sit on the board of directors, which is very exciting. We get to sit in boardrooms and discuss parliamentary procedure, which is always what I was looking forward to in my life. And I also am on the core team that runs the developer infrastructure for OpenStack, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. So we're going to talk about a few things. First of all, OpenStack. This is OpenStack Benelux, after all. I'm going to talk about what I do with it, because I do like talking about myself. And then hopefully I'm going to talk a little bit about what you might want to do with it. So OpenStack is cloud software. If you didn't know that before now, it's very interesting that you're here. I'm not really sure how you got in the building, but you probably know this. And I'm not going to spend really any time talking about deploying it or running it, because while those are great, and I believe we'll have other people throughout the day who will talk about those topics, to me, I'm a really big user of OpenStack. So what's important to me is, what are you going to do with it? Now you've got a cloud, what good is it? So I've got three kind of use cases that I think are important. One of them is that I want to be able to deploy my application and get it to my customers around the world. There's this great thing called the internet, and it allows people to communicate electronically. And I want my application to be able to do that. I think that's an important thing for it to be able to do. I also want to be able to deploy my application in multiple locations. I don't want to be dependent on a single service provider. If say one of my cloud's underlying DNS infrastructure went belly up, I don't want to be dead in the water. I want to get a service to my customers. That's the important thing that I want to do. And finally, there's a thing that is some of my friends in the US may not understand, but you may not want to put all your data in the United States. It's possible that you might have locality requirements on your data and on your applications, and so you want to be able to accomplish those things so that you can have a successful business and do what it is that you're going to do. And the great thing is this all works. We've solved it. We can all go home. I'm doing this actually, not as we speak. My laptop is down there, but I was hacking on the system about 20 minutes ago that does these sorts of things. We have a system that spins up between 10 and 20,000 VMs a day across 3 public clouds. I said, I didn't hack on those slides quickly enough. It's 3 soon-to-be 6 clouds. It's actually 4 soon-to-be 6 clouds, because we got one of the new clouds into the system just last night, which is pretty exciting. So that's spanning all of that across 4 different clouds, which is pretty cool. And that's 100% using nothing but the OpenStack APIs. We, as members of the OpenStack project, don't really, we're not really going to go use some vendors' extensions to it, so we just use OpenStack. So I'm here to tell you that using absolutely nothing but OpenStack, you can have applications that span multiple clouds, and they can all work 24/7 and be perfect, except sometimes when you break them. But then that's my fault, actually, for pushing bad code. So it's a different thing. So what's doing this? I work on a team called OpenStack Infra. It's not one of the better names for a team, but if you know anything about me, you'll know that I name things very poorly. So this is the team that works on the tooling, automation, and CI for the OpenStack project. We have some challenges. Being one of the world's fastest growing open source projects is it's great. It's really fun for the people who support that. We have over 2,000 developers working on the project, and we've decided that what we want to do is we want to test every single commit multiple times before it even lands, right? And this is not a thing that can be bypassed, much to the chagrin of people who are trying to push something at a time of strife. But this is a thing, and we've been doing this literally since the first commit of the project. Each of those tests, because it turns out what we're testing isn't, it's not an Angry Birds app, it's a cloud. So we have to deploy a cloud every time somebody makes a commit, which means that we spin up and tear down lots of single-use computers. Because once I've installed a cloud on a computer, I probably don't want to use that cloud for anything else, because installing a cloud involves things like mucking with kernel modules. And I'm not going to try and reuse that later. In the last 6 months, we've done about 1.7 million test jobs, about 15 million tests every month that we're running against that. And this generates about 18 terabytes of log data, because, again, we're deploying clouds. So not only do I need to capture your test logs, I need to capture the entire operational logs from the single-use cloud that I deployed in order for a developer to be able to diagnose what might have gone wrong with their commit. All of that is done on a thing. We own 0 servers. It's not technically true now. We're working on a new project, but currently in production, we have 0 servers. And we are doing this entirely on top of Rackspace and HP's public clouds. And then Red Hat has a set of machines that they're hosting that they've donated to the OOO community, who have spun up a cloud, because there's some specific testing requirements for that wouldn't be met by the public cloud. So this is actually a 2 public, 1 private cloud installation that this system runs across, which I think is kind of cool. In the coming soon category of this, up on deck, we actually just added the OVH. If you know them from here or in Europe, they've got a public cloud, and we've just gotten credentials for them to add that into our system. We've got a dedicated Blue Box cloud coming up on SoftLayer that'll be giving to us. We have some machines at HP that we're going to be using. The infra team is going to run our own private cloud for some specific purposes. And in just a little bit, we'll also be getting an account on the upcoming IBM public cloud. So this is all for one application, and this one application is spanning all of these clouds, which I think is really cool and kind of the point of this. If you look at where those clouds are and what we're using in those clouds, you can see that we have at our disposal a lot of locations, right? We have VMs spinning up currently or in the very near future just about anywhere, which also is kind of really cool. A couple things about what the character of this application is, because when I talk about I'm running things across 18 data centers, and you're like, well, that's great, but what is the thing that you're running? We're not going to talk about this in detail. This is some boxes with some lines pointing at them, which means that it's an architecture, and it does stuff, right? Clearly, this is important because it has boxes and lines. But there's a few things. There's some slightly bigger boxes that almost look like they're the center of things, that are a little bit more traditional applications. They've got some things fanning out. We've got some normal scale out, and there's a elastic cloud in there. A little bit more specifically, at the core of our system is a piece of software called Garrett. I would like to thank Google for writing it for us. It's very nice of them. They actually wrote it for the Android project, but we use it actually, I think, more than they do. So I consider it ours now. It's a traditional enterprise Java application. And let me say this in every sense of the word. It could not be a crappier enterprise Java application if it tried. It's exactly what you expect. You get a WAR file, you deploy it, it runs on one machine, it expects to be able to write to local files. It's all of the things that terrify you about being handed a WAR file, right? But it does fine. We're running it on a single Nova VM with a single sender volume behind it. We take backups because we're good IT people, and sometimes when this is what you do, you take backups. That's the solution. It's not a cloud-native app. We sure are running it fully in production in the cloud. It has a scale-out farm of Git replicas behind it. Turns out that Git is great, but also kind of resource intensive if you have 2,000 developers setting it. So we do have that sort of attached to it. This is a graph of Garrett's activity. In and of itself, it's not very important. It's more to show you the shape, and I'll come back to it in a second. A few more fun numbers. We get about 2,500 changes every week, which results in about 15,000 change revisions, because every change gets reviewed and people have to go fix it, right? And so you get another revision to it. This results in us landing about 10,000 changes every 42 days, which I guess tells me what the question was for what 42 is the answer. How many days does it take OpenStack to land 10,000 changes? Yay! So kind of what the workflow is somebody proposes a change, and we splat out, as I mentioned before, a bunch of clouds to test it. In order to do that, we had to write a piece of software that we call NodePool, because again, we're bad at coming up with inventive, cute names. And what NodePool does, as you might imagine from its name, is it keeps a pool of nodes. It is a cloud-native application. It is purpose-built for this purpose in Python. It's not a sort of generalized thing. It's not an engine or whatever. We built it to make a pool of nodes for us. It keeps them ready to go. We have free accounts on these clouds, so we don't really care about minimizing our use of cloud resources. What we want to do is we want to maximize the use of cloud resources so that we minimize the amount of time our developers spend. Now, if you think about from a private cloud perspective, it's actually sort of a similar thing. If you've got a rack of servers in your organization running cloud on it, you don't really want to say, hey, I don't really want to use all of that today. I really want to keep my usage of it. You actually want to maximize the usage of that. So we're actually matching that model. We're just doing it on public clouds. Thank you to HP and Rackspace for never yelling at us for how much of your money we're spending. And this is, as I mentioned, this is multi-cloud. We don't care, none of our end users care which cloud the VM spun up on. In fact, we do everything we can to keep them looking exactly the same. So you run a job, it may run part of it on Rackspace and part of it on HP, and that's great. And then it is fully elastic. So as developers land more commits right before feature freeze, where they've all decided, oh, today is the day that I should actually put my commits up, we will spin up more nodes and deal with that. So the graph I showed you just a little bit ago is on the left there. That's of the Garrett events of people pushing patches in and whatnot. The one on the right is the graph of the actual nodes in the node pool. And it's not differentiated by what provider they're coming from because we don't care. That's NodePool's job, is to allow us to not care. And in fact, if we have a cloud go offline, the NodePool system just keeps running, and well, we notice because then we have to go figure out what it fixes, because that's sort of your job is running a system, but our users don't notice that, which is fantastic. So it works, yay! We've done something, but why should you care, right? This is great. This is me talking about how we run the development of OpenStack. So it's very kind of like we're eating our own whatever, but awesome. So I think there's a few. Hopefully, this illustrates a few things, and there's a few reasons why you might care about OpenStack itself rather than just cloud or whatnot. These are sort of 3 points. That you can run what you want to run, that you can run it where you want, and finally that you can do business with who you want. I think all of those things are extremely important and extremely important things that OpenStack brings to the table. So run what you want, right? If you have a cloud-native 12-factor application that your brand new developers just went out and Ruby'd and whatever, and they've got it. Actually, I guess Ruby is old now. It probably should be Node.js or whatever your 12-factor application is written in. You want to run that in a cloud? Clearly, it's cloud. It'll do that. That's fantastic. On the other hand, as I mentioned just a couple seconds ago, if you want to run a traditional Java web application, you can do that too. have to write all new 12-factor applications. Kind of cool that that model exists, but let's not enforce that on you. Let's actually let you solve your actual business problems. Maybe you need to run a Kerberos server for your organization. You might not want to do that, but you might need to do that. And there's actually no reason you can't. I didn't mention it. It was one of the little tiny boxes you couldn't see, but we actually do run a Kerberos server in one of our public clouds for reasons that we will not get into right now. Maybe you need bare metal. Maybe you're doing video transcoding, and maybe there's some really specific things that you need to be able to take advantage of on the bare metal layer. OpenStack has the Ironic project, which allows you to get bare metal through the compute layer. So you can do all of these things, and the important part about that is that I'm not going to tell you how you want to do your business. I'm not going to tell you what applications you can and can't do or what shape they need to be in. It's abstracted infrastructure. You do what you want to do, and we'll do our best to help you do that. Running it where you want, I think, has two different facets to it. One of them is geography, and one of it is kind of how you get the cloud. So geography, you might want to put the data near your users. It might be important. As I mentioned before, you might not want to store your data with the NSA. That might be important to you to not do. You might not care. It might be fine, but you might want to be able to avoid that. You may have locality requirements. If you're doing government contracting, if you're doing financial things, a lot of those people don't like for that data to leave the country that they're in, and that's kind of a really important thing. And in fact, a lot of times it's not negotiable. You have to put it in the right place. And hopefully not too specifically topical, but say what if you have some customers in Suriname? Do you think that Amazon's planning on spinning up a data center in Suriname for their cloud in the near future? Probably not. But if it's important, because it's not important enough to a single entity like that to do that, and that's fair, it's good business for them, but that may not be good business for you, right? And it might be important to be able to put something there local to the local business. Rather than just waiting for a large, American multi-conglomerate to make a decision that is important to them. And I think that's really important. Delivery model is also a big consideration, and one where I think we've got a really big advantage over everybody else. Everybody knows public clouds. Like, that's kind of how this whole thing started. But there's a couple of other models that might make sense for you. You might want someone else to run in their own data centers a private cloud for you, because you may need some specific things, but you don't really have the bandwidth to run it yourself. You may need it to be in your data center. You've already got a data center, but you still don't necessarily have a team of cloud people to run a cloud. Or you may have a crack team of IT ops people who are just dying to run a cloud, and you may want to run one all yourself. And again, you can do all of these things in the OpenStack ecosystem, depending on what makes sense for you, right? And the thing that leads to for me is that the hybrid story is everything. Hybrid is where this wins, and hybrid is what we all need, because in the real world, our apps don't all look the same. And in the real world, we have requirements that we can't get out of, and we have to do them. And in hybrid solutions are really the only way to be able to manage that. You want to do business with who you want to. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really usually like to do business with people who threw chairs at me. It's not really a great thing, so I might want to be able to choose to not do business with that person. I might want to work with somebody who has a local presence, who knows something about my local environment. I might be looking to expand. I might want to work with somebody who has a global reach, who can get anywhere. Those may be important things. I might want to work with somebody who I feel cares about my business and my success, and doesn't just view me as a number on a spreadsheet in aggregate. Actually, it's also possible that I might care about all of those things. I might want local presence, global reach, and somebody who actually cares. And that's I think those are so important things. So as Ruud mentioned, this is about community. Community isn't just about open source developers working on things. There's over 400 companies. I'm sure this slide is out of date. There's probably over 500 companies. It's growing all the time, and I can't keep up with it. There's a lot of companies who are involved here. So I work for one. We'd be more than happy to sell you some stuff. But there's other companies that are more than happy to do that as well, right? And that's actually kind of that's important. It is important to me and my company that other people are doing this at the same time. That's pretty much important to all of us who are involved in this. All of the names up there on the banner benefit from everybody being involved in this scenario, because the landscape is so wide. Each of these companies can provide a different value, and that's good for everybody sitting out there right now. Just as a real brief thing, I actually have accounts on every single one of these clouds. These are the European-based public clouds. If you didn't know about some of them, that's fine. I'd like to point out that there's a cloud that is specifically just running in the Czech Republic, which I don't want to make any. It's a small country and might not necessarily get people's attention at first. And some enterprising people there have spun up a cloud that you can get and be getting resources in Prague. I kind of think that's really cool. You've got everything from big companies to small companies in this. And Internap, I don't think, is actually a European company, but we'll give them credit because they've got an Amsterdam data center. Global reach is the other thing that I was mentioning. I did mention that I work for a company. Turns out we have products. One of them, so we recently bought a company called Bluebox, who does managed private cloud for you, right? So they'll run one for you. They've got the ability now to spin up a private cloud for you in every single soft layer data center that currently exists, and there's a lot of them, including right here in Amsterdam. Also, same thing as I mentioned that you might want. They can do that in your own data center, and this is something that's available right now. If the public cloud availability isn't great, and if you don't want to run one yourself, you can just go and go click click click. Yep, I've got a cloud. That's so exciting. So ultimately, at the end of the day, and it's somehow possible that I might have actually gotten through this in the reasonable amount of time, OpenStack, I hope, gives you the power to make the choices that are right for you. I get a little bit sick when people come up with theories and tell me about how cloud should work and how I should do my applications and how I should think about things and how I should run things. And at the end of the day, I have the things that I need to do to serve my customers, to serve my users, and I need to be able to make those decisions. And if I have anything to say about it, that's what OpenStack can do for you. It can allow you to make those decisions that are best for your business, best for your customers, and best for your users. Ultimately, thank you very much for listening to me babble, and I will walk away, and I believe someone else will talk at you next.